If you are a speech language pathologist, OT, PT, healthcare professional, considering taking the plunge into self-employment, this is the video for you. First, let me just unofficially welcome you to the club of those of us that just might be crazy enough to start our own businesses. I started my own private practice in 2020, and honestly, I haven't looked back. My goal for this video is for you to be empowered, informed, and have the language, which we know is important, that you need to be able to do this whole self-employment thing if that is what is right for you. Retirement is very important. Here is some no fluff information for you that I think will help calm your mind a little. It is very possible that you are overvaluing the retirement benefits that you think you'll be losing. So in this video, we're going to talk about retirement account options for self-employed SLPs, a real-world comparison between an employee SLP and a self-employed SLP, and why self-employment might be more empowering than you think, even if it's not for everyone, and that is totally okay. So many SLPs stay in jobs that don't work for them, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or financially. Now, there's a plethora of reasons for this that I'm not going to get into right now. But one of the reasons that they are afraid is because they're afraid of losing the benefits. Oh no, I need the benefits. I need them. Oh, I must have them. And again, I get it. Retirement is a big one of those benefits. But many SLPs I talk to haven't actually gotten the full facts on self-employment retirement and actually ran their numbers. They're just holding on to this abstract fear instead of trying to get a really clear picture. So let us paint that picture together today. If you're self-employed, even part-time, you still have access to powerful, tax-advantaged retirement accounts. So now let's break some of these down. The first account I want to talk about is a traditional and Roth IRA. So it can technically be two different accounts, but I'm going to smush them together and I'll tell you why in a minute. This account type is available to anyone with an earned income. So even if you are not self-employed, if you watch this and decide, Danny, you are hecka insane and there is no way I'm going to do the self-employment thing, you do you, boo. But hey, you can still open up one of these, which is pretty freaking awesome. So for the traditional / Roth IRA, the contribution limit is $7,000 per year in the year 2025. And if you're over the age of 50, the contribution limit is $8,000 per year. So let's talk about the traditional versus the Roth IRA. The traditional IRA is tax deductible now, which means you don't pay taxes on the money up front. And then you pay the taxes later whenever you withdraw the money. So no taxes now, pay taxes later. With a Roth IRA, you pay taxes now on the front end, and then it grows tax-free, so you're not having to pay taxes on it when you take it out. And don't ask me why it's called a Roth IRA. I have absolutely no idea what Roth means outside of the context of retirement accounts. Maybe it's some Latin, Greek term that some finance bro came up with. I have no idea. I guess I can look it up at some point, but I digress. If you're just starting out or have a lower income, a Roth IRA is a great way to build tax-free wealth because you don't really need the tax-deductible benefits on the front end if you're not making tons and tons of money anyway. Also, the idea that this money can grow for years and years and become over $1 million and you just get to keep all of it, it's beautiful and fabulous. Now, one important note, you can't contribute the max to both a traditional and a Roth IRA in the same year. So that $7,000 limit is the combined limit for both accounts. So for example, you could do $3,500 to each. You could do $6,000 to your Roth and $1,000 to your traditional, or you could just go fully into one or the other as long as the total doesn't go over that annual limit of $7,000. Honestly, you really don't need to put too much thought into it. If you're not sure, just go with the Roth. You'll probably thank me later when you're sipping Mai Tais in your retirement years. Before we move on to the next account, I do want to make sure that I say this. For the traditional / Roth IRAs, if you make too much money, then you are no longer eligible for these accounts. If you are filing single, if you make more than $150,000 per year, you're no longer eligible for this account. And if you're married filing jointly and you make over $236,000 per year, you are also no longer eligible for these accounts. Which, it kind of stinks that you can't utilize these accounts, but if you're making that kind of money, claps from me, ma'am. Self-employment retirement option number 2. This is called a SEP IRA, and SEP stands for Simplified Employee Pension. This one sounds fancy and intimidating, but it's really not, I promise. It is designed for self-employed people and small business owners. So if you're not either of those, well, you can't have one. You can contribute up to 25% of your net self-employment income, aka after you have paid expenses. So for SLPs, a lot of us either go into some form of private practice or making materials or courses. Expenses for these types of things could be your therapy materials, traveling to a continuing ed course, any sort of online memberships, like if you're paying for Canva to make your designs or Boardmaker. These things would be counted in your business expenses, and you don't have to pay taxes on that money. The contribution limit for the SEP is capped at $70,000 in 2025. Now, if you heard me explain all that net income expense stuff and your eyeballs begin to glaze over, I don't fully blame you. Okay, so let me give you a real world example to kind of bring it to the ground. Let's say you are a self-employed SLP. You made $100,000 in net income. So that's after you've paid your business expenses. This is after paying for your office, rent, therapy materials, prizes for your treasure chest, whatever. You can contribute up to 25% of that $100,000. For sole proprietors, it's technically 20%, but talk to your accountant about that, not me. I like using these easy numbers when I'm talking about examples. So for this example, we're sticking with the 25%. So $100,000 times 0.25 ends up being $25,000 that you can contribute to your SEP IRA, which also means that's $25,000 you can deduct from your taxable income, and it goes straight towards your retirement savings. Now, you're going to pay taxes on $75,000 instead of $100,000, and that will lower your tax bill. You can pretty easily set one of these up through places like Vanguard, Fidelity, or even some banks. This is perfect if you want something simple that still lets you save a lot compared to the traditional or the Roth IRA. And a really cool thing is that you can have both. So you can have the traditional or Roth IRA, and you can have a SEP IRA. The next self-employed SLP retirement option is, that was a bad drum roll. It is a solo 401k. This is great for self-employed SLPs who really want to maximize those retirement contributions. So for the solo 401k in 2025, you can contribute up to $23,500 as the employee, plus 25% of your net income as the employer. And that can be up to a combined total of $70,000, or it can be $77,500 if you are over 50. So if we're comparing the SEP IRA, the maximum contribution is the same, $70,000, but the solo 401k not only lets you do 25% of your net income, but you can put $23,500 on top of that because you're technically contributing as the employer and the employee. So if you're really trying to add a lot to your retirement accounts and that 25% of your net income from the SEP IRA isn't enough and you would like to add more, an account like the solo 401k allows you to do that. Another cool thing about the solo 401k is that it can be a traditional or a Roth depending on your setup. So you can decide if you want to pay taxes on the front end and let your money grow tax-free, or if you want to take the tax deduction now and pay taxes on that money when you take it out. Now, I'm gonna let you know the solo 401k is a little bit more paperwork than the SEP. But it does give you more flexibility, especially if you want a Roth option with those higher savings limits. Okay, so now that I've kind of given you what some of the big account options are, let's look at an example of how this plays out in the real numbers. So we have Megan. She works full-time in a public school with a salary of $60,000. She has state retirement, and she has a state retirement contribution that's 7% from her as the employee and 7% from the employer. Let's just say this goes into a pension. So that ends up being $4,200 a year from her and $4,200 a year from her employer. Now keep in mind, vesting takes 5 to 10 years. Now, vesting sounds all fancy and stuff, but it's really not. It's literally just how much of your employer's retirement contributions you get to keep if you leave the job. So if you're not fully vested and you decide to leave that job after only a couple years because they gave you a caseload of 100 kids and no money for materials, well, you're probably only going to get to take a percentage of your employer contribution with you. Another thing to consider in this example is that pensions may or may not be portable if this SLP decides to move states or careers. So if you're taking a district job, make sure to ask about all of that because that's important and that's a part of the whole benefits package. Now let's look at Christine. Christine is self-employed in private practice and she has a net income of $90,000 a year. She opens up a SEP IRA and contributes 25% of her net income, so that would be $22,500. She also opens up a Roth IRA because she's a bad mama jamma and contributes the max of $7,000. So for this particular example, Christine, the SLP in private practice, has a higher income, allowing her to have more money in general to contribute to retirement, as well as having access to accounts that enable her to make those big, beautiful, chunky retirement contributions. Not to mention, she may have flexibility, more control over her schedule, and the ability to increase her income by adding clients, services, digital products, or employing other therapists. Okay, now let's make sure we keep a solid dose of reality in this conversation, because remember, you're here for no fluff. Self-employment for sure comes with other costs like taxes, insurance, and even just the mental and emotional load that comes with running a business. But we can also underestimate the earning potential and tax advantages available when we run our own practice like a real business. Like with anything, you need to sit down, run your numbers, and make sure that they're going to work for your situation and just your life. There's multiple factors at play here, like your location, if you're going to take insurance, what is the insurance reimbursement, making sure that you're setting appropriate private pay rates for the particular area that you're in if you're not going to take insurance. Because at the end of the day, the math needs to be mathing, or you can get yourself in serious trouble. But we are educated critical thinkers. We got this. Here's the main things I want you to take away from this video. Yes, retirement is really stinking important and you should be thinking about it. In fact, that's where most millionaires in the US have built their wealth, in good old-fashioned retirement accounts. Because you have options. I definitely want to make sure to not push the narrative that everyone needs to have their own private practice and business and everyone needs to be their own boss. Just like with anything, there's pros and cons to each, and you have to decide for yourself what is going to be a priority for you. But if you're feeling stuck, burnt out, or like you want more control of your schedule, income, or just your future in general, don't let the fear of losing your retirement plan be the only thing that's stopping you. Because that fear is probably just coming from a place of lack of information versus actual danger. And if you made it to the end of this video, you literally have no excuse now because you have the information that you need. Okay, let me know in the comments. Have you ever considered private practice or contract work or any form of self-employment? And if so, what are the things that are holding you back? And if you want more content like this, SLP money tips, private practice, and mindset shifts for your money that won't make you miserable, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram @SpeechGoods. Now, go do the dang thing because you deserve to make choices from a place of abundance and gratitude and actual facts, not fear. You got this, boo.